Good evening and welcome to the fastest half hour in the cryptid world, This Week in Bigfoot, the news show that scours the internet and the Bigfoot community each and every week so you don't have to. Then we take it and wrap it up in a nice, neat 30-minute package. If it has to do with Sasquatch, Bigfoot, or the Wildman, we've got it all covered. And boy, I tell you, there was a lot going on this week. Melba's back with another cryptid DNA project. We've got an update for you on the Thinkerthunker Steve Cull's dilemma as TT goes public and continues to slide off the rails. Snowwalker gives us his 2 minutes, and Small Town Monsters' latest documentary hits their channel. So buckle up, folks, we got a lot to cover. Let's do this.
911, what are you repeating?
We've someone or something crawling around out here. Get somebody out there.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know. He's all black, he's big. He is big.
Big news in the cryptid world this week, gang. The Canadian Antlanders of Bigfoot, Steve Isidol, has been rallying his army of followers in a series of recent uploads, calling for support to raise funds for Melba Ketchum's latest cryptid genome project. According to reports, Isidol has been working closely with the Texas-based veterinarian, whose 2012 study claiming DNA evidence of Bigfoot was heavily criticized by the scientific community. For those not exactly familiar with the story of that project, here's Canadian content creator Overanalyzing Avatar and his animated thoughts on the failure to capture Bigfoot DNA and to prove the origin of the species. Pay attention, he moves kind of quick.
On the flip side of the coin, there's actually a paper published by a Dr. Melba S. Ketchum, who doesn't have a PhD in genetic sciences. She's a veterinarian, but she runs her own genetics lab. Am I reading this shit right? So she said she had successfully sequenced 3 nuclear genomes of confirmed, undocumented, raw ape from North America. Pretty incredible, right? Find of a lifetime. Culturally significant, some might say. So it's 2009, and Melba's cooking up a fucking heater of a paper. This shit's gonna turn the world upside down. But the paper gets delayed, and then she's not showing up to events she's supposed to speak at. And then the paper gets delayed. And then she says her paper has double-digit co-authors. And then the paper gets delayed. And then she starts posting online about how she's seen a family of 5 gentle Bigfoots with her own eyes. Ketchum's lab is closed and it's up for lease. It's 2012 at this point, and the wheels had fallen off the cart 10 miles back. The paper finally comes out, and it reveals they had found 3 samples that came back to have identical mitochondrial DNA to humans, but the nuclear DNA was described as a novel, unknown hominin related to Homo sapiens. It's always the nuclear DNA. That's where they always get you. So we don't live in a world with confirmed Bigfoot, so something obviously has to be screwy here. Ketchum, upon peer review, is the closest thing to scientifically posterized as possible. Keep in mind, Ketchum sequenced many samples, but was really proud of the 3 banging nuclear ones. The peer review revealed more than one of the samples being DNA from your classic black bear. Another sample was misgrouped, so I guess that one's just fundamentally off the table. However, some of the samples look promising. Some of the mutations were rare among humans, but common in other primate species. Seemed like they might be onto something, but it was then revealed the samples were almost certainly contaminated with human DNA from Ketchum's team. Fucking come on, Melba! Basically everything that ever could have been wrong with the evidence was.
But all this hasn't stopped Isidol from throwing his weight behind Ketchum's latest endeavor to collect DNA samples, not only from Bigfoot, but also Dogman, giants, and other unknown cryptids, according to Ketchum's post on the group's GoFundMe page. We asked Ben Radford, author of the 2012 Live Science article on the subject, what he thought of Melba's new project.
Yeah, it's just honestly, I was surprised to see Ketchum still around. I mean, it's like, at some point you're like a bad penny, right? And especially given her background. I mean, she was in June 2021, she was accused of professional misconduct by the Harris County Public Defender's Office in a DNA analysis case. I mean, so she has this checkered background anyway. And when you go back and you look at her previous, her 2021 or 2012 study with the De Novo Journal, it's just this sort of like fiasco after fiasco. It's not as if she had success in establishing Bigfoot DNA 10 years ago with her previous project. I mean, it's not like she's building on that success. She didn't have success. In fact, it was widely discounted as it should have been. And yet, of course, she's still there. She's still cranking this stuff out. And to add on Dogman and then giants and chupacabras, I mean, where do you go from that, right? And so it all comes down to the science. Either you have good science or you don't. And her original de novo study was flawed through and through. I mean, I read the study several times, and it was this sort of like this ad hoc like where were the samples? Where did they come from? And it's like some people know how to collect samples, some people don't. It was this sort of half-assed, and I'm like, Melba, do you not? I mean, this is not how this works.
In a move to raise the money for this ambitious project, Isidol appealed to his loyal viewers in a series of recent video uploads, like these.
Melba's DNA study. I haven't checked, but I hope we're making progress on that. We really need to get that done. A quick glance at the GoFundMe link that we've been sharing and hoping that our club members will take care of this. So hopefully one of you, thousands of people, want to throw down a 50 cents or a buck or whatever you can, and we will see that through. I don't know if I'm going to sign the NDA or not. I'm sure I will. Of course I will. But once I get a chance, I'll download it and do whatever I have to do to continue on our end of the bargain, right? But more importantly, we're going to help this GoFundMe goal get smashed, and we're going to hopefully receive in return a pile of confirmed facts that we all deserve.
And it looks like all his efforts have paid off, as the campaign has been able to exceed the target of $20,000 in just under a week. But unlike Ketchum's previous promises of red carpet premieres, executive producer credits, and personal Sasquatch adventures, this time around, donors will only be kept informed of the progress by email, providing they signed a non-disclosure agreement. Now, it remains to be seen exactly what the scientific community thinks of Ketchum's latest bid for the history books, as it wasn't that long ago that the Erickson Project and the Batilda videos came up short in proving, well, anything that mainstream science would accept.
Cleon County, Washington has officially been declared a Sasquatch protection and refuge zone. At a recent meeting, the Cleon County Commissioners signed this proclamation that officially recognized and honored Sasquatch. Signed on April 11th, the proclamation essentially asks Cleon County citizens to recognize their county as a refuge. The document also asks they show their support for a 2-day event called Forks Sasquatch Day that's taking place this year on Memorial Day weekend. Located at the northern tip of Washington's Olympic Peninsula, Cleon County is home to more than 78,000 people, along with 1.7 thousand square miles of forested and mountainous land. The county is home to parts of Olympic National Park, while its northern shores are only about 14 miles away from the southern coast of Vancouver Island, British Columbia, a renowned Bigfoot hotspot. The BFRO has 17 public reports coming out of Cleon County. Some of these accounts date back to up to 75 years, with the most recent happening in 2020. Cleon joins other Washington state counties like Skamania and Whatcom that have protections like this in place for Sasquatch. Outside of Washington, states and local municipalities like Texas and Whitehall, New York have laws in place that specifically prohibit the killing of Bigfoot. Others, like Oklahoma, recently proposed state-level bills for a Bigfoot trapping season.
Today's episode of This Week in Bigfoot is sponsored by Got Knockers Apparel and Clothing. From hoodies and caps to soaps, keychains, and bats, Got Knockers has everything you need to show your love of Bigfoot. For more information and to shop their items, be sure to visit the Got Knockers page on Facebook at facebook.com/Got Knockers. Hey, Got Knockers? If you caught last week's show, you're well aware of the situation between Thinkerthunker and Squatch Detective Steve Coles, as both have been at each other's throats, accusing each other of various YouTube violations, character attacks, and blatant confirmation biases. And know that we promise to keep you updated on any changes. Until recently, Thinkerthunker has managed to keep his personal identity out of the public eye, choosing to remain anonymous. However, last Saturday at 2 p.m., Thinkerthunker broke his silence and released a video entitled Meet the Real Thinkerthunker. In the video, the embattled content creator revealed his identity and shared some very personal information. Here are the highlights of that clip.
Hey, this Thinkerthunker. My friends call me Jed. Hello. It's nice to finally meet you after all this time. I recognize thousands of you now from the comments you've been leaving me over the years and your avatars. I consider some of you friends, some of you good friends that have been there for so long now. And yes, that's my grinning face. I snapped that years back while testing some gear. That photo there pretty much sums up who I am or who I was. I was always considered, friendly and popular and easygoing and outgoing and athletic and a leader. And then suddenly I wasn't, Life has a way of happening to you. Maybe I have social anxieties now, or maybe I developed a thing they call later in life autism. I'll never know because I refuse to go tell some doctor that I don't like being around people or crowds now. And then they'll give me some prescription that I'll refuse to take because the side effects will have me walking my sleep with machetes and night terrors and growing onions out my ears and loss of smell and suddenly listening to Taylor Swift music and all the terrible things that big pharma does to us while they make billions. I'm just not going to do that. All I know is I don't fit with people now. It's like suddenly I'm wired 440 volts while everyone else is still 110. And the only adapter I now have that lets me communicate with the world is this microphone I'm talking into right now in the privacy of my tiny studio. It kind of sucked, this transition from friendly to, a recluse, because I used to be a corporate trainer and an instructor, and being up in front of and leading large groups, that was my life. That's how I made my living. And it was a good living for a good long time. But now that is gone. Now I found the only way I have of making a living is by making videos and writing books and sharing them with you guys. Technically, I hate to admit this, but I'm disabled. I never wanted to try to use whatever looks I might have to get ahead on YouTube. I didn't do this to be in a popularity contest. I wanted my findings to stand on their own. I'm now showing and sharing all of this after over a decade is because there are these Squatch Nazis and haters here on YouTube who have so little to talk about that they are now doing investigations into me, making these creepy hour-long videos with them and their good old boy Gestapo buddies, sharing my private information and photos online, with them trying to get to the bottom of it. Who is this Thinkerthunker guy? We're going to get him. We're going to take him down. That's what I'm doing here. I'm outing myself to you to deprive these hate-mongering goons of having the satisfaction of doing it themselves. What's funny about this is these guys are bewildered as to why I have over 100,000 followers and they have like 16. You sell hate and misinformation. That's it. Find something of value to say, anything, something we haven't all heard a million times, or shut up and go away. Not everybody needs a YouTube channel. You guys could be filming yourselves like shooting up the old cars and appliances in your yard with shotguns or whatever, out there drinking brewskis, blowing crap up, and you'd probably have way more viewers, You could probably get your own show on the History Channel, blowing crap up, starring mindless idiots being themselves. That's you. Do that. Be who you are. And you know what? If you don't like me saying any of this, you shouldn't have been picking on some old disabled guy. And maybe when these Squatch Nazis and bullies have lost enough email counts for violating harassment policies, and they've lost all their YouTube and Twitter and other accounts, maybe then they'll realize that they're not really detectives and that they don't have the right to share other people's private information and photos online, spreading their hate and ignorance. That's it.
While the reasons behind Thinkerthunker's decision to reveal his personal identity remain unclear, it is evident that the constant online criticisms of his work have taken a serious toll on him emotionally. This is obvious by the tone of the video, which has raised concerns here at This Week in Bigfoot about the state of Thinkerthunker's mental health. I can't say for certain what caused Thinkerthunker to release this video, but it is my opinion that Steve Coles is not solely to blame. It appears that Thinkerthunker has been struggling with mental health issues for quite some time, and we encourage him to seek professional help. His use of phrases like hate-mongering, good old boy Gestapos, rednecks, they hate me, they're all Nazis, they're all coming to get me, are all deflection tactics and examples of narcissistic gaslighting, and is what happens when somebody who's emotionally unstable gets caught in a lie, backed into a corner, and it feels as if their whole world is about to collapse. In the end, it's important to remember that the people behind the online personas we follow and engage with are real individuals who may be dealing with personal struggles that we're unaware of. And while we might not agree with most of what Thinkerthunker's views and opinions are on his channel, we certainly wish him the best in the future in seeking professional help. If you know somebody struggling with mental health issues and needs some help, call 1-800-985-5990.
This past Sunday, Small Town Monsters released their latest Bigfoot Beyond the Trail documentary, Tales of the Honey Island Swamp Monster. When we interviewed filmmaker and Bigfoot researcher Alex Petikoff in one of our earlier episodes, he talked about the creature's historic backstory and some of his goals for the film.
And there's been stories there for decades of what they call the Honey Island Swamp Monster, kind of a quintessential sort of swamp story, but it's more similarly related to a Bigfoot kind of creature, at least the way it's reported. Now, there's an original kind of story. There's a lot of folkloric history, supposedly a train crash. Chimpanzees escaped. They mated with alligators. That's kind of the folk story version of it. Then there's the story from the 60s and 70s of alleged footprints and footage that was found that was taken in the swamp.
While he discusses the area's more renowned stories like Harlan Ford's grainy footage and four-toed print castings, Petikoff delivers on his promise of focusing on other eyewitness accounts coming from the area.
The hair on the back of my neck stood up. The two guys were fearful. They looked at me. Well, Stacey, what is it? They figured I knew. I said, I don't know.
Petikoff interviews a number of locals that include hunters, fishermen, and researchers who share their own unique experiences out in the Honey Island Swamp. Their accounts range from bizarre and extraordinary to outright disturbing. Witnesses shared stories that describe terrifying screams heard by hunters, sightings of two-legged creatures while driving. One even claimed they were left a severed animal head on their property.
And I started getting really fearful, and it was like, maybe I don't need to know what it is.
The film provides great insight into Louisiana's tragic haunted past dating back to its time as a French penal colony. Petikoff even comes across some stories of high strangeness in the Louisiana swamps that span beyond Bigfoot, including balls of blue light, even sightings of large cats. Despite being impeded by seasonal flooding and private land, Petikoff got a good amount of field investigating done and managed to access some pretty remote regions of the Honey Island Swamp. While Petikoff didn't come face-to-face with the big guy, he explored some harsh terrain filled with alligators, wild boar, and venomous snakes. With plenty of places to hide and an abundance of different food sources, the film leaves us with no reason to believe a Sasquatch-sized creature couldn't conceivably call the Honey Island Swamp home. Overall, Tales of the Honey Island Swamp Monster is a solid and informative documentary that keeps its watchers engaged and takes a very original approach to successfully investigate this decades-old legend.
It's that time again, folks, part of the show where we give content creator Michael Merchant screen time to speak his mind and get what's ever bothering him off his chest. We call it 2 Minutes With.
There's no evidence. Eyewitnesses are not evidence. Not evidence. Eyewitnesses are not evidence. I see what you're saying. See you later. Come have a look-see. I saw what you did there. It's nice to see you. Good to see you again. See you later. See you tomorrow. Go over there and take a look. What'd you see over there? Something is invalid. We sure rely on it a lot. Occupies a large percentage of our time, what we're looking at. It even has its own art. Visual art. I mean, really, there's only two kinds of art. Visual art and audio art. It's really funny that the courts allow eyewitnesses. You say that every one of them's invalid, huh? Compromised, mentally compromised, suffering under a variety of cognitive impaling ailment. They're all impaired. Every single last one of them. And his footprints. Melba has a whole storage container filled to the brim. Bigfoot foot casts in plaster. Double bear prints. Each and every one is a double bear print. True, just like a Sasquatch track. Double bears, put 2 feet in the same track, double bear. And a number of people have sequenced DNA collected in the field, which points to an unknown source. Peer review, logical fallacy, straw man argument, illogical, compromised, contaminated DNA. shoddy workmanship, inappropriate sequencing, wasn't peer reviewed. Well, surely the video and the photos. Stop calling me Shirley. We have tons of video and photos. Thousands and thousands. CGI'd. Every single last one. Eyewitnesses. Eyewitnesses are not evidence. Where would the court system be without witnesses? Almost everything we do relies on the fact that a person has the ability to go forth, correctly observe this reality, and report back to their peers on what they saw. We all know this. You'd be stupid not to. Every single one of us know this. Why are you trying to argue that we don't know what we see in? That is the most ridiculous position. I can't even believe people have accepted it for the status quo. It's complete, utter nonsense. Flim, flam, flummoxed McDougal.
Tonight's edition of This Week in Bigfoot is sponsored by Broken Branch Designs. From outerwear and clothing to home and garden decor, Broken Branch Designs has everything to do with Sasquatch. For more information, visit brokenbranchdesignslllc.com.
New research from Bonus Insider has apparently found the states you're most likely to see a Bigfoot, and some pretty unexpected names wound up making the cut. From fifth to first, the states that emerged from this analysis were Wyoming at 5, Idaho at 4, West Virginia at 3, while 2 and 1 respectively were Oregon and Washington State. The study began by analyzing thousands of BFRO reports across the continental United States, dating back over 70 years. To narrow down locations and maximize the odds, Bonus Insider worked on other major factors like state population data, estimates of local elk and deer populations, along with the percentage of forest cover in each state. All three of these details are supposed to take a Bigfoot's ability to remain hidden, along with having access to viable habitat and food sources, into account. While it does acknowledge the number of cumulative encounters, one of the biggest determinants in the study is how it calculates each state's number of Bigfoot reports per 100,000 people. It's a more effective way to determine probabilities by taking variables like population into consideration and how likely you are to come across someone who supposedly encountered a Sasquatch in each state. Here I have two lists that respectively show the 10 states with the most aggregated Bigfoot encounters along with reports per 100,000 people, and as you can see, they are vastly different. Not only are there 2 states that appear on both lists, but those that appear on the 10 most sightings per 100,000 people list are among some of the country's lesser populated states. Stories like this are always a good chance for us to remind our viewers that we here at the CARC actively investigate eyewitness reports. We can keep your report confidential, lend a visit to the area where it happened, or even feature your story on one of our future documentaries. Especially if you're in or near the Catskill Appalachian area, you can reach out to me directly or email the show.
Time to catch you up on a couple of recent podcasts and live streams. First up, Bigfoot researcher Scott Carpenter teaches us all how to mentally cope with a Sasquatch encounter. Pay attention.
And you've got to accept that the Sasquatch is a real living, breathing creature. Okay, it's real. You didn't imagine it. You didn't hallucinate it. You know, unless you were drinking and smoking pot. But you know, in most circumstances, you know, what you saw was real, and you need to come to terms with that. You need to be okay with that. It was real. But most importantly, this was not your fault. You did not cause this encounter. Unless you were out there actively seeking them. And that's, you know, there are some people that do that, but, and, you know, when they have an encounter, it's still devastating. But for the most part, most people who were troubled by the encounter were not seeking one out. I think talking about the encounter with a person you can trust is very, very important. And I'm hopeful that you can find someone that you can do that with. Now, if it can't be a family member, you know, Steve Ishdahl now is doing his facts, the facts by how to hunt. And basically, you can write him an email about your encounter, and he'll read that, and he'll, you know, and in that community, you're accepted.
Next up, it's Brent from the Tall One's favorite YouTube channel, Crypto Reality, showing us all something you don't see every day. I think.
What you're about to see took 10 years to learn to identify. Okay? We have shots from Florida here. This is going to be the second individual that looks like this that I've documented in Florida. But watch this, man. I mean, this is nuts. You can see this thing blinking. And look at the eyes on the thing, man. Look at the eyeballs. We're staring at a pupil right there. I'm 175 yards out, man. DJI Osmo. That's what I got to say. This is a big creature, man. This cheek right here it's strange, the bone structure, but you can plainly see, there's nostrils on the sides. And the eyes, he's looking at us. Now, I haven't really adjusted a lot in this other than a little bit of exposure. That's it.
Now, to be fair to the CFRO, I took this video and I cleaned it up a bit and I zoomed in. So now, here's really what you don't see every day. I think.
The shot, as I've shown, is pretty dark. But, I mean, we're staring at this guy. Let's look at him blink again. Look at that. And you can see the eyes looking back and forth in his head. That is nuts. And this is an immense creature, okay? I got news for you. This thing's huge. You can see him in there. Look at that.
Okay, moving on. In this next clip, Base Camp Chris tells us about a frightening story from an elk hunter in the mountains of Colorado. Enjoy.
He's laying in his tent making plans for the next day. He's got a lantern. He's looking at some maps, trying to figure things out. And he hears behind him, to his north, this loud, not a howl, but kind of this growl huff. And this is what he told me. And I talked to him on the phone. And after this story, I'm going to play just a few minutes of our conversation. It's really interesting. But he hears this howl, growl, and something like that, but really loud. In fact, so loud he can feel it vibrate in his chest and shake his insides. Really startled him. Then immediately, just moments later, to his right, he hears another rock thud, about 20 feet away, maybe. He knew now for sure this was no bear. Then just moments later, to his left again, he hears this whoop sound. Whoop, whoop. Like that, something like that. Almost like it was answering. To his right, he hears another whoop sound. Whoop, whoop. And now he knew for sure there was something he did not even consider a Bigfoot. He never gave it a second thought that Bigfoot, Sasquatch could actually even exist.
With the days getting warmer and Bigfooters taking to the woods in droves throughout North America, Bigfoot conferences are popping off all over the country. That being said, there's only one guy we can all turn to keep us up to speed on the who's, the what's, and the where's, and that's Chuck Larson with another great show in this week's Spotlight.
The Nicola Valley Bigfoot Conference is set for May 13th at the Lower Nicola Indian Band Shoeless Arena in beautiful Merritt, British Columbia. This is an event you won't want to miss. Doors open bright and early at 8 a.m. with an exciting lineup of speakers set to take the stage at noon. For just $30, you can join fellow Bigfoot enthusiasts, researchers, and curious individuals from all around Canada and the United States in this fun and exciting event. Get your tickets now by pre-ordering at the email address below. This year's event is extra special, as it marks the very first time the Nicola Valley Bigfoot Conference is being held in Merritt, with an impressive lineup of speakers including renowned author Blaine McMillan, cryptozoologist Alex Solnick, and dedicated researcher Leon Thompson. You'll be treated to fascinating insights and theories about the elusive creature that has captivated imaginations for decades. You won't want to miss out on this unforgettable day filled with adventure, mystery, and plenty of Bigfoot fun at the Nicola Valley Bigfoot Conference. And that's this week's Conference Spotlight.
All right, folks, it looks like we're all out of time. I'd like to thank you for watching and remind you to like, share, and subscribe everything we do here at the Catskill Appalachian Research Collective. If you have any questions or comments, or maybe a story for the show, you can always drop us a line at thisweekinbigfootnewscast@gmail.com. For Mike Luci and Chuck Larson, I'm Brendon Brown, reminding you that when it comes to getting your Bigfoot news, be informed, not biased. Take care.